Georgian State Museum of Theatre, Music, Cinema and Choreography, also referred as Art Palace, Georgian, is located in Tbilisi, Georgia. Kargareteli Street No. 6, former Graf Oldenburg's palace, museum is open every day, except Monday. History. The Georgian State Museum of Theatre, Music, Cinema and Choreography is an important depository for our cultural objects. The museum is housed in one of the most stunning buildings in Tbilisi. It was designed by a well-known architect of the time, Paul Stern, and is a perfect example of Gothic and Islamic architecture. A three-story tower, high merlons, beautifully decorated cornice, open terrace, and steep roofing combine to give the building an unusual look which is most uncharacteristic of the architectural style of Tbilisi. The history of the construction adds even more charm to the building. In 1882, German Prince Constantine Oldenburg, 1850–1906, met a beautiful woman called Agrafena Japaridze in Kutaisi. At the time she was married to Georgian nobleman Dadiani. Prince Oldenburg was so dazzled by her beauty that he decided to ignore her marital status and to confess his love for her. Prince Oldenburg's confession turned Agrafena Japaridze's head. She quickly forgot her devotion to her husband, and their lovers left Kutaisi and went to settle in Tbilisi. Prince Oldenburg commissioned the building of the beautiful palace for his beloved as a token of his great affection for her. In 1927, the Museum of Theatre, founded by David Arsinishvili, 1905–1963, a famous Georgian public figure, later appointed as the first director of the Andrei Rublev Museum in Moscow, was moved to the building. To date, this is the only museum of its kind in the Caucasus region, and it is one that equals the world's leading museums in the wealth of its collection. The museum comprises more than 300,000 objects that provide comprehensive information on the development of Georgian theatre, cinema, circus, folklore, opera, and ballet, as well as providing insight into the lives of eminent figures in respective fields. Some museum exhibits date back to the classical era. Of particular note is the antique mask, which was excavated by archaeologists in the town of Varni. The depository of manuscripts and archive documents contains manuscripts of Ilya Chavchavadze, Akaki Sateli, Alexander Kazbegi, Alexander Akhmeteli, Kote Marjanishvili, Pyotr Tchaikovsky, Fyodor Chelyapin, and Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. Kept at the museum are the personal archives of great Georgian composers Dmitry Arakishvili, Zakaria Paliashvili, Vano Sarajishvili, playwright and founder of modern Georgian theatre Georgi Erostavi, and film director and screenwriter Mihail Chiarelli, as well as plays and translations of William Shakespeare into Georgian by Ivane Makarbeli. The depository of books contains rare editions from the 17th to 19th centuries, gramophone records, posters, and theatre and film costumes are also preserved. The depository of photos and negatives includes unique materials of such prominent films as Jim Shvante, Mamluk, and Georgi Sakadze. The depository of fine arts has a rich collection of 16th and 17th century Persian miniatures, 18th century French engravings, and the best examples of the old style of Tbilisi painting. The museum boasts the paintings and graphics of Elie Akuto N. Bakst, Alexander Benua, Fernon Liege, David Kakabadze, Lado Gudiashvili, Elie Nakvladiani, Peter Otskeli, and Irakli Pargiani. Structure. Depository of sculptures. The museum houses 3 paintings by Iakob Nikoladze, a founder of the realistic trend in Georgian sculpture and people's artist of the USSR, 1876–1951. Nikoladze's portrait of Vladimir Alexei Meskishvili, a Georgian theatre actor and director, 1857 to 1920, is worthy of note. Nikoladze had to make the bust of Meskishvili in 1940 to coincide its unveiling with the naming of the Kutaisi state drama in Meskishvili's honor. The museum contains a rich collection of Mikhail Chiarelli's works, a great Georgian film director and artist, 1894 to 1974, and Iakob Nikoladze's student. The collection comprises plaster sculptures of Georgian eminent public figures Vano Sarajishvili, 1879 to 1924, Kote Meski, 1857 to 1914, Vaso Abashidze, 1854 to 1926, and Valerian Gunia, 1862 to 1938. These works are valuable as they reflect the early and lesser-known period of the artist's activity. Also worthy of note in the collection are the plaster bas-relief of Georgian director Alexander Takaishvili, 1895 to 1958, by Bidzina Avlishvili, born 1922, Iakob Nikoladze's student, and the plaster bust of singer Niko Kumziashvili, 1892 to 1942, by Nikolaus Kandelaki, one of the founders of modern Georgian sculpture, 1889 to 1970, in commemoration of the tragic death of the famous Georgian actor Georgi Shavgaladze, 1910 to 1959. His son Nuradin Shavgaladze, a Georgian sculptor and member of the Artists' Union of Georgia, made a bronze bust of his father. The sculpture is distinguished by its exquisite style. The depository of sculptures also contains a full-face sculpture of Valerian Gunia by Elguja Amashukeli, a famous Georgian sculptor and laureate of the State Rustaveli Award. The work is notable for its marvelous craftsmanship. Replicas of some antique sculptures are stored in the museum, including an exact copy of the marble sculpture of Mithridates VI of Pontus and Eupator Dionysius, 132 BC to 63 BC, which is similar to the sculpture kept in the Louvre Depository of Manuscripts and Archive Documents. The depository comprises around 40,000 manuscripts of Georgian writers, public figures and artists of the 19th and 20th centuries. The archive documents are rich and diverse, consisting of private and business correspondence, records, scenarios, diaries, poems, plays, printed music, and scores. The museum contains manuscripts of the following eminent persons: Vasa Savella, Akaki Sateli, Galakshan Tabidze, Tizian Tabidze, Ioseb Grishashvili, Ivan Makarbeli, Oliver and Marjorie Wardrobe, Alexander Sumbatashvili, Kote Meski, Kote Karania, Nato Gabunia, Elizabeth Churkzishvili, Valerian Gunia, Shalva Dadiani, Dmitry Arakashvili, Kote Marjanishvili, Sandro Akhmeteli, Vano Sarajishvili, Ushangi Shkadze, Akaki Korava, Akaki Vasadze, Mikhail Chiarelli, Veriko Anjaparadze, Sergo Zakariadze, Cecilia Takaishvili, Pyotr Tchaikovsky, Fyodor Chelyapin, Dmitry Shostakovich, and Vladimir Ippolitov Ivanov, as well as bibliographical materials about artists, Marjanishvili and Rustaveli theaters, programs of Tel Aviv, Kutaisi, Batumi and other regional theaters. There are also valuable materials kept about the history of Georgian and Abkhaz troops of the Sokumi Theatre, Georgian and Ossetian troops of the Skin-Vali Theatre, and Azari and Armenian theatres. The museum contains documents of the Duruji Corporation of the Rustaveli Theatre actors, the Tbilisi Academic State Opera and Ballet Theatre, and programs of the Tbilisi Drama Society, 1893 to 1903, printed on silk cloth. Besides this, Screenplays and scenes of the shooting of Georgian and Russian films are also stored in the museum. Depository of Fine Arts. Around 10,000 exhibits of over 300 Georgian artists reveal to us the evolution of Georgian scenic design. The Depository of Fine Arts contains portraits of theatre actors and directors, sketches of stage decorations and costumes, graphic compositions, Persian miniatures, French and German engravings, and color lithographs. Artistic and literary life in Tbilisi was vibrant in 1918 to 1921 during the period of Georgian independence. Tbilisi, the capital city, became the hub for immigrant artists, poets and musicians from Russia. They established an excellent relationship with local artists and the literary group of Georgian symbolist poets Sisbakant Celebi, the Blue Horns, contributing to the cultural life of the city and making it more diverse and exciting. From 1922 to 1933, Georgian theatre enjoyed a revival. Marjanishvili, an innovative Georgian theatre director, returned to Tbilisi after time away and became an important contributor to the evolution of the Georgian stage and scenic design, allowing set designers to demonstrate fully their vision and skills. And so the individuality of Georgian modernist painting became reflected perfectly within theatre design. The collection of the depository comprises works of great artists such as Petra Otskeli, Irakli Gamkeli, Kirill Zhdanovich, Lado Gudiashvili, Elena Vladiani, David Kakabadze, Tamar Abakelia, Sergo Kobaladze, Solomon Versaladze, Ivan Askurava, Orakli Doidze, Tamar and Dmitry Tavarzes, Nicholas Kazbegi, Pana Lapiashvili, Rivaz and Tengiz Mirzashvili, Vladimir and Mamia Malazonia, Georgi Meskishvili, Georgi Ninua, Tiamuraz Mervanidze, and Tiamuraz Ninua, each of whom made a positive contribution to the evolution of Georgian scenic design and fine arts. Besides Georgian artists, the depository also keeps works of Russian, Armenian, Azeri, and other foreign artists, as well as works of representatives of the Russian Silver Age world of art, founded in the early 20th century in St. Petersburg. Konstantin Koravan, Lev Bakst, Alexander Benua, Alexander Golovin, and Viktor Simov. Depository of Photos and Negatives. The Depository of Photos and Negatives houses up to 100,000 exhibits which depict the history of Georgian theatre, music, cinema and choreography from the late 19th century onwards. Apart from numerous photos, glass negatives kept in the museum reflect the development of the history of Georgian and foreign theatre, music, cinema and choreography. The collection comprises the private archives of eminent actors and directors who made a valuable contribution to the development of Georgian theatre, music, cinema and choreography, such as Vaso Abashidze, Lado Alexei Meskishvili, Mako Saparova, Valerian Gunya, Elizabeth Cherkzishvili, Kote Meski, Sandro Akhmeteli, Kote Marjanishvili, and Vaso Kurshitashvili. Photos of the first Georgian theatre troupes. Scenes from plays such as Motherland, Sister and Brother, Divorce, Karnuma, The Eclipse in Georgia, King Lear, and Hamlet, as well as Georgian opera and ballet, and Italian and Russian operas and theatres in Georgia. The museum keeps photos of the first Georgian national choirs and composers. Lado Igniashvili, Josep Bratali, Pilimon Karidze, Zakaria Paliashvili, Sandro Anashvili, Dmitry Arakashvili, Andrea Balanchevardza, Shalva Mshvalidze. Scenes from the first Georgian movies. Akaki's trip to Rachalekami. Christine, Arsena Georgiashvili, My Grandmother, Amoki, Saba and the Last Masquerade, and the private archives of Ivan Perestiani. Alexander Susunava, Nicholas Shengelaya, Vladimir Barks, Mikhail Chayureli, Alexander Dimilovi, Rezoshkaidze, Tengiz Abuladze, and Georgian Eldar Shengelia. There are numerous materials of opera and theatre plays from the post-revolution period which give important information about great actors and actresses. Akaki Korava, Akaki Vasadze, Veriko Anjaparadze, Cecilia Takaishvili, Sergo Zakariadze, Ushang Ishkaidze, Vaso Godziashvili, Alexander Georgioliani, amongst others. Further, the depository keeps a rich photo archive of 19th-century ethnic minorities and diaspora. There are photos of the buildings of theatres, a philharmonic hall, and a circus, and photos of tours of a number of Georgian troupes, orchestras and quartets. Photos taken by famous photographers Dmitry Ermakov, Alexander Roinishvili, Eduard Klar, Alexander Mikhailov, Vladimir Barkinov, Alexander Germany, and Abram Nordstein depict scenes and characters of Georgian plays as well as historical buildings. The museum also has a vast collection of postcards from the late 19th century through to the 20th century. Depository of memorial objects and works of art. The depository houses over 900 exhibits including some personal relics. The oldest object, a theatre mask with a chain, dates back to the classical period and was discovered at an excavation in Varni in 1941. The collection of achievement medals made with precious stones includes a golden medal conferred on Dmitry Arakishvili by the Imperial Russian Archaeological Society and an enamel medal conferred upon Vano Sarajishvili. The silver crowns of Alexander Sumbatashvili Eugene are distinguished by their elegance. Of particular note is the vast collection of theatre, film and choreography costumes, namely, costumes decorated with gold and semi-precious stones from the well-known Georgian movies. Bashir Chuki, the right hand of the Grand Master, Mamluk, and Keto and Coat. The Georgian National Ballet's choreography costumes of Georgian dances Sadarbazo, Tashuri and Kefsarul were created and stitched according to sketches by Solikova Saladze. Famous Georgian dancer Pridansula Beradze is represented at the museum by his Ajaruli choker, Georgian national male dress, alongside the costumes of singer Sandoanashvili, one of which, a torero's outfit for Rigolito, is embroidered with ornaments using gold thread, made in Milan. Objects belonging to other well-known people are also worthy of attention. Vasa Savella's cartridge for his choker cartridge cases, Sergo Zakariadze's glasses from the movie The Father of the Soldier, David Eristavi's marble notebook, Dmitry Arakishvili's golden watch and the audio transfer facility he used to record Georgian national songs onto wax cylinders. This last was produced by the British Royal Factory and has the royal crown and initials of A. Georgianson printed in a somtavrili, the monumental and oldest form of the Georgian alphabet. Many museum items describe too as the history of the development of different directions of the arts. For instance, a silk poster for the premiere of David Eristavi's play Motherland, January 20, 1882. One of the first exhibits of the museum was a curtain designed by Russian artist Konstantin Somov for the Free Theatre, which was established in Moscow by Kotmar Janishvili in 1913. The curtain was thought lost until it was rediscovered in the basement of one of the theatres in Moscow in 1930 and was later given to this museum. The museum also boasts Maya Plesitskaya's and Nino Alnaniashvili's point shoes with their autographs gifted to the museum by Sergo Parajanovo. Depository of Library and Rare Editions. The Depository of Library and Rare Editions houses a rich collection of 32,000 books and rare editions, mostly of the Georgian and Russian languages, about theatre, cinema, music, choreography, art, history, and religion. The museum also contains fictions, encyclopedias, dictionaries, plays, and printed music, as well as newspapers and magazines. The collection consists of such rare editions as Georgian Theatre by Valery Gunnar (1878–1889), Shota Rustaveli's The Knight in the Panther's Skin, 1887 and 1892 editions. The Georgian Dictionary Sitviskona by Sulkan Saba Orbiliani, 1884. The Bible, 1884. The Old Testament, Kubanishvili, 1909. Treasury of the 10th century, Mosjanashvilis's Letter, 1891. The Complete Works of Georgiateli, 1894. Akaki's Monthly Collected Stories, 1898. Ancient Georgia edited by EKV Time Takaishvili, 1909. The Life of Kartli by David Chubanashvili, 1854. The Georgian Tribe by Rostamashvili, 1896. Tamar Batanishvili, a historical novel by Shailovi, 1882. The Chronicle and Other Material of History of Georgia collected, chronicled, and edited by Jordania, 1892. Caucasus Calendar 1854–1913 with an advertisement for the Lagidze Waters in the 1912 edition. Issues of Georgian newspapers and magazines are also stored at the museum. Teatri Daskovriba, Theatre and Life 1910, 1914–17, 1923–24. Nishaduri, 1917–1918. Sapironi, 1924. Juruji, 1926. Tartarosi, 1927–1928. H2SO4, 1924. Momavali, 1920. Aroba, 1920. USHBA, 1926. Miotsnabinaya Morabi, 1923. Drosha, 1924–1925. Mazani, 1927. Art, 1912. Pyramidebi, 1924. Almanaki, 1925. Gudemli, 1923 and 1927. Paskunji, 1908 and 1910. Shvani Tertri, 1921. Eshmakus Matraki, 1919–1920. Sakako Pertzeli, 1914. Sakako Gazzetti, 1910. Matraki, 1915. Laxi, 1912. And Cavalli and Averia. The depository keeps old chants and printed music. Georgian chants. Georgian Kakishan tone. The Rule of Liturgy of St. John Okrapiri, 1899. A Georgian chant and a chant for the deceased recorded by Pilimon Karidze, 1899. Solemn chants of the liturgy, 1914. Georgian ecclesiastic chants. Gurian Imarishan tone. Recorded as sheet music by priest Kundadze, 1902. Hymns, 1901. One-voiced ecclesiastic chant, 1907. Georgian Kakishan chants. Karbelant tone. M. Sukri and Siskari written as sheet music, 1897–1898. And Georgian public songs as printed music by Kargareteli, 1899. Further can be found Tavparovneli Chabuki transcribed by Iowa Kargareteli in the village of Tatsminda in 1928. Narrator Garbo S. Makurashvili. Antonov's Plays 1876. Valevsky's The Foreigner translated by Ioseb Grishashvili with his autograph and postscripts. And Joke translated from Russian into Georgian by AKV Senti Zargareli with Vasoa Bashidz's remark. Naughtiness. The museum also keeps books which contain the autographs of famous people such as Niko Pirsamani with Lado Gudiashvili's autograph, and that of Sergei Mesky, accompanied by his photograph. in his Volume 1 edition of 1903. Depository of Gramophone Records. The Depository of Gramophone Records contains one of the richest collections of video and audio recordings of old gramophones, contemporary cinema, and music. The 2,503 records kept at the museum reflect the history of the evolution of audio recording. Wax cylinders produced by famous recording label Disco Pate and Concert Report, and gramophone, music plates, audio cassettes and CDs, audio and video recordings of plays staged at the Tbilisi Opera and Theatres, radio and television programs, radio plays, chants, and an expedition record led by Shalva Mshvalidze in 1931–1933 can all be found stored at the museum. Of particular note within the collection are the songs Since I Split Up With You, Since I Left You, Lullaby, Evil Soul, I Have Passed Half of My Life, performed by Nato Gabunia Zagarelli, recorded at Disco Pate, Only For You, with lyrics by Shalva Dadiani, performed by Vano Sarajishvili, produced by Concert Report, Ermulian Mestvirili, performed by Sandro Kavsadze, Georgian ecclesiastical chants performed by the boys' choir of the Georgian Patriarchate, Regent Noda Kinadze, Second World War audio chronicles, Victor Doladzes and Zakaria Paliashvili's opera stages, pieces of music for ballets composed by Sergei Prokofiev, Alexander Borodin, Sergei Rachmaninoff and Igor Stravinsky, Franz Schubert's symphonies performed by the Bolshoi Theatre Orchestra and Johann Strauss, compositions performed by the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra, record of plays staged at the Rustaveli, Marjanishvili, Rustavi, Kutaisi, Batumi, Gori and Tel Aviv theatres at different times are also stored at the museum. Depository of Posters. The Depository of Posters contains more than 70,000 exhibits with 4,000 posters dating from the 1850s to 1921 arranged in chronological order. The collection is rich in the posters of prominent representatives of Georgian and non-Georgian theatres. Vano Sarajishvili, Vaso Abashidze, Mako Saparova Obashidze, Lado Alexei Meskishvili, Georgi Pronisparelli, Valerian Gunia, Nato Gunia, Iuz Zadalashvili, Kote Meski, Fyodor Chaliapin, and actors of the Moscow Imperial Theatre, as well as posters of drama circles and public theatres. The collection from the Tbilisi Opera from 1871 onwards is of special significance as it contains rare and in some cases unique copies of posters, other copies of which were destroyed as a result of a fire in the opera building in 1973, amongst other exhibits. Further at the museum can be found posters depicting the theatrical life of the Tbilisi Theatre, Zubalashvili Public House, the circus of the Nikitin brothers, and the Vera, Ortashala, Abshala, Avlabari, and Muslim stages, along with posters of craftsmen's clubs. The depository boasts an old theatre, concert and circus posters archive which includes posters of Georgi Arastavi's play Divorce, January 2, 1850, Palevoy's Parasha Sabioka, January 27, 1856, Motherland, 1897, three-act tragedy The Georgian Night at the Circus Colossus, Misfortune, cast, Nato Gabunia, Mako Saparova, Elizabeth Cherksishvili etc. 1889, Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov's opera Mozart, Salieri featuring Fyodor Chaliapin, March 22, 1900, Anton Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard and the Seagull staged by Russian director and head of the Theatre New Drama, Vsevolod Myohold, 1904–1905, and also Lope de Vega's Fu and Tova Juna, staged by Kote Marjanishvili at the Rustaveli Theatre. The vast majority of the posters cover almost all theaters in Georgia from 1921 onwards and depict the theatrical life of Georgian theater troupes as well as that of ethnic minorities and Georgian diaspora. Additionally, the depository keeps the posters of premieres of plays produced by outstanding Georgian directors, such as Kote Marjanishvili and Sandro Akhmeteli, and posters of the stage life of well-known Georgian actors. Veriko Anjaparadze, Ushang Ishkaidze, Sergo Zakariadze, Cecilia Takaishvili, Akaki Korava, Akaki Vasadze, Ramazshkikvadze, and Arasi Manchgaladze, amongst others. Posters reflecting the history of Georgian cinematography, feature and documentary films, and cartoons are also stored at the museum. Georgian State Museum of Theatre, Music, Film and Choreography, Art Palace on Google Cultural Institute.